Morning, Mr. Oko.
Morning, Dr. Reynolds. How are you?
All right, have a seat right here. Thanks for coming in today.
Appreciate you having me.
All right. Hello, viewers, and welcome to the special edition of our ongoing video series. And we have with us an important guest today, the individual who's directly responsible for keeping track of the dollars and cents in the district, our treasurer and CFO, Mr. Phil Oko. And during our chat today, we're going to learn about Phil, his background and connections with this community, and a little bit about his vision for the treasurer's office. Thank you for coming in today, Mr. Oko.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds, for having me.
I really appreciate you taking the time today. I know that your schedule is crazy. I know how much you do over there and how much you handle and take care over there. So I'm appreciative that you were able to sit down with me today, as we kind of do almost every day.
Yeah, every day, right. Well, it's my pleasure for being on this with you. I'm
Yes.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, so let's start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up where we are right now.
Yeah, so, I never went through school or had an idea that I wanted to be a school treasurer per se. But when I went through college, I went to Kent State, got my bachelor's in business, and then went to Cleveland State and got my MBA in finance. I worked for Breakthrough Schools up in Cleveland and worked in their finance department, worked my way up from an AP clerk all the way up to that assistant treasurer role. And then I worked with the state of Ohio to get my licensure and ended up here. But along with that journey, I also worked for the Ohio legislature, the House of Representatives for District 11, which at that time, before redistricting, housed Stephanie House, which is Newburgh Heights. So I have a little bit of both perspective, which plays a role in what we do every day together.
Yes, it does. It does. So that's one of the things I wanted to make sure that we mentioned as well. So understanding that world was a little different from, I'm an educator.
Right.
All I know is educating kids, but that was a world and I'm saying was because when we first met, you were introducing me to various different legislators and kind of giving me the ins and outs. How was that for you, that experience that you had, and how does that help you right now at this moment?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. You're an educator first, and I'm business first, and I have that realm of legislative experience. I think with our passion being education and kids first, that's the most important thing is building those connections, relationships that tie directly into what we do operationally, educating our children every day. Whether it's paying a bill or teaching a curriculum, legislators have an influence that indirect or direct may not be what we want or maybe what we want. Yeah. And having that kind of relationship with Columbus and our local legislators is so critically important so we can do right by our children.
Agreed. So, Mr. Oko, you have a very interesting connection to the Garfield Heights community. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so interesting. I was actually born here at Marymount Hospital.
Wow.
Yes,
All
and
right.
I have a long family lineage that went through this district and this community. My grandmother lived on Oak Park Drive. My father went to St. Monica's School. My aunt started teaching at St. Monica's School. And then I've had great uncles, aunts, all graduate from the old high school building prior to this one. Yeah. So I used to remember spending time, holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, up in my grandmother's house, just down the street from where we operate today. So this does have a very special and deep connection root to what I do. And it's just another layer of my passion for this school district and these kids.
Yes, yeah. Why do you think that it is very important that our community understands that connection? On my end of things, being from a totally different place from North Carolina, talking about why that's very important for the community to know from your perspective.
Yeah, I think it really shows that we care, right? I care about this district. I care about everything that goes on, the city, the schools. I grew up in this area. My mother went to Bedford Heights. My father went to Maple. He was on the other side of Oak Park at that point.
Yes.
But, I think really what it comes down to is that our family started here. We put our roots down here, we grew here, and that's what we're trying to do here at the schools. We're trying to grow with Garfield, just like they grew me into coming back here and serving a purpose that I think is so critically important for a school district that is so special and unique.
Yes. So let's switch gears a little bit here. Talk to us about your role as the treasurer, CFO of the school district and your vision.
Yeah, so school district treasurers, we don't get a lot of limelight. We're not in the spotlight all the time. A lot of people don't know what we do.
Yeah.
Our role is to be the steward of the finances for the school district, which is public money. It's property taxes and income tax that we all pay to the state. That's my job, to make sure that we're functioning at a level where we're being the best stewards of the money that you provide us, the community provides us. Along with that, it's very important that we tie financial plans to academic plans. So when we're talking about the finances of the district, being able to communicate with the community, how are we spending our money and what is it producing? What's our return on investment? Obviously, our return on investment is getting the kids to where they have a choice and an option to do what they want at that next level. And that's the important, almost behind the scenes nature of my role, is supporting you, Dr. Reynolds, daily.
And I appreciate that.
And we do.
Yes.
And I think it's so crucial that we have that relationship to back up academic plan with the financial one, so we have that end goal in mind for the kids every day.
I think it's been so separate with the treasurer's office and the superintendent's office, and now we're in a situation where we're both on the same page with where we're going as a district and what we're trying to do for children. I'm looking at the more academic side of things, and you're looking at the financial side of things. And what I know that we've done a great job with is really kind of understanding both worlds and where we're trying to go, creating those limits there. Creating those limits, but really moving in the same direction with, hey, I'll throw something out there and you're like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's talk about this and how we're going to make sure those things happen. But it is within those conversations where I've been able to understand your vision and your passion for children as well. So I'm very appreciative of that.
And I'm appreciative of you on the other side. We have two different perspectives, but both are so important to the end goal, the academic expertise, and then, you know, I like to think I have the financial expertise
for sure.
But, you know, knowing that with limited resources, we have the opportunity and the ability to do something that not other industries have. We can create a situation for students to take into that next level with limited resources and limited opportunities that other industries and organizations, they're not constrained by that. And that's it's such a challenge, and it's why this school district is so special to me, because it's always a battle and a grind, but it's for the right reasons.
Yes. We stay up late at night and
worry
about things late at night, but it's for a really good reasons, taking care of children and taking care of this community. So Mr. Oko, you've been on the job for about a year now. So how has that transition been for you?
It's been great. I would be lying to you if I said that it's been, you know, all peaches and roses and every day is great. No, we have these challenges, you know, especially taking over for someone who was in the role for so long and did some great things for the district. You know, it's difficult to walk in and have that influence right away, but the transition has been fantastic. Our administrative team is fantastic. Our teachers are great. Our students are great. It makes my job easier knowing that we have the team, we have the district in place where, yes, I'm going to make a mistake, but, you know, I'm going to do the best for the district, and it's not just because I'm here, it's because I want to do the best for the district, and
that happens in our work in general.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, mistakes do happen.
Absolutely.
But as professionals, what do? We make those adjustments to make sure we're correcting any of those mistakes. That is just education in general, making sure that we learn from those things and make those adjustments so that we are better. And I think that we become better professionals when we take it like that, when we learn from those things. So that's a good point.
Well, I think another point is that the biggest challenge is that we have limited resources, and everybody in this district wants to do the best thing for children. And that's the hard part. The transition is, how do we manage that? How can we get to where everyone wants to be when we don't have the full resources to do so? That's a great challenge to have, because the mindset is getting our children where they need to be on every level.
Mr. Oko, you are an expert on school funding. So can you share with all our viewers about how our schools are funded and how much we're receiving from the state?
Well, thank you for calling me an expert on that.
You are.
Lifelong learner, of
course.
You know, funding is extremely complex for school districts in the state of Ohio, but to be as clear and plain as I possibly can, it's three buckets, which our district is funded by state funding, state aid, property taxes, then federal funding. So we get about 75% of our total revenue from the state of Ohio. So it's about 23 to 25 million a year. 17 million comes from property taxes. And then we get between 5 and 6 million in federal grants a year. It never stays the same. You know, if you're in this industry, you're in this business, you know that year to year, the revenue's always changed, especially when the state is providing a lot of those funds. So it's always important to have that communication about how we're funded and the mechanisms that drive the funding for our district, because it does affect our everyday operations.
It does. And I think that it is very important that our community understands how we're funded. I know that there are opportunities for us to receive funding from our title grants and so on and so forth. And I think it is important for not only just our community, but our staff understand how the funding pieces work. And you've been able to do a couple of things with our staff just to share with them how important it is for them to understand how title funds will work.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important that I'm not the only one with the knowledge of how the funding works. I think if we have a universal knowledge on especially federal funds, which hold higher thresholds and criteria for spending, then we can work more cohesively as a district together. So trainings, town halls, newsletters, you know, I look and plan to put something in the neighborhood news for the community. Maybe not as in depth in federal funds as I speak in that language, but it is important to know that we do utilize as much and as maximum capacity of our grant funding as possible on a daily basis.
So, Mr. Oko, what other funding sources should we also know about?
Yeah, so during the COVID pandemic, the federal government issued ARPA funds, ESSER funds, as they're likely called in our neck of the woods. So Garfield Heights, we did receive a large allocation of those funds. And although they don't show up on our November or May forecast as, you know, line items per se, our allocations of this year, about $16 million, are one-time revenue funds that the state provides to us for, you know, addressing the COVID pandemic. Even though we're a few years out of that, the funds have come in now. So what have we been doing with those funds? Transparency, right? We've been addressing our buildings. We've been putting money into fixing up the buildings for when our kiddos come back to school. They were able to pick up, or at least attempt to pick up where we left off, and then build off of that. We've improved technology. We've gone one-to-one with Chromebooks. We've put a lot of money into our middle school, about $8 million in renovating the middle school, the high school, and doing various preventative maintenance projects so we can continue to have our students and afford our students the opportunity to have facilities that can get them the education that they need.
Yeah, and sometimes I think that we forget how important the facilities are themselves. So when we're talking about creating an environment for our students that is conducive to learning, that's all about our facility as well. Whether we're talking about lighting, whether we talk about heating and air in a building, but that is all necessary when we want our children to achieve. So we have to create those opportunities.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, facilities, you don't think of facilities right away when you think of schools and education. It even goes back to transportation.
Yeah.
You know, it's all these parts and pieces that this money is a great advantageous period for our district to use and to upgrade and to meet the standards that other districts around us have, because, you know, we haven't been the most rich district in a while, and we've been trying to maintain for a decade now. But now we have this opportunity that, yes, we can make a step forward with this one-time funding, and that's what we've been doing. And I'm proud to say that we've put in a lot of investment in our facilities, and we give our kiddos an opportunity and a chance to have something similar to other districts around us, which is important.
Yes, it's extremely important. Yeah. So the Garfield Heights City Schools has a renewal on the ballot. Can you share with the community what this means?
Yeah, so our Board of Education on November 20th passed a second resolution for a renewal levy to be placed on the ballot in March for the March primary. So what this basically does is it's a no increase to taxes that residents are currently paying. It'll collect the same amount that they authorized back when they initially approved the levy and the millage. I think it was 2012, if I'm correct, but it's just a renewal levy to keep our operations where they're at currently. We're not going to gain any revenue. There's no inflationary gain to this. The millage is just to collect what the voters approved back when they originally approved it. It's for a period of 10 years, which is Ohio Revised Code statute for that. And it is just a renewal that will be placed on the March 19th primary.
So there are no new taxes, and this is something that's common for school districts.
Yeah, so school districts have to rely on the community for local funding and local capacity source. This renewal levy is no increase to taxes. This is keeping the status quo on the collections and what you pay yearly for property taxes. School districts are subject to a provision called House Bill 920, which does not allow levies that are passed to collect inflationary growth when property values rise, like we've been seeing given the COVID inflationary period where property values are rising 40, 50% sometimes. School districts don't gain on that, as there's a mechanism in place that kind of lowers the millage collected when your house value increases. So what we've passed is just a renewal of the sort that we've passed 10 years ago. So it's just continuing operations as they are with no new increases to taxes.
So will the community be able to research about the facts of this, of the levy?
Oh, absolutely. And I encourage them to. I mean, folks are voting on this, and this is their right to do this. I encourage them to contact myself, my office. The district website will have the facts of the renewal levy. It's important that we know that these are property tax funds coming to the district. So we need to communicate and show that we know what we're talking about, A. Yes. And B, that the voters know what it is that they're voting on. And that's our part, is communicating to them what it is, how much it is, and what are the consequences of, the levy or not having the levy for our revenue stream.
Okay. So the viewers have learned a great deal from you. So have I. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think, school finance is a complex and sometimes messy, endeavor. And what we go through every day is not similar to what other industries go through. And I think the most important thing that I can say to the community is that my office is an open door policy. We are stewards of your money, the state's money, property owners' money. We want to be transparent. We give board meeting financial reports monthly, but if there's ever a question about where is this money going, or how do you receive this money, or what's next, what's going to happen if you don't receive this money, that's where please reach out, have a conversation. I will meet you in Garfield. I love this city. I will meet you wherever, or you can come to my office and have a conversation, because it is about the transparency of what we do as a district, because we are serving your children.
Yes. And that's a piece about what we're trying to do here in the school district, whether we're talking about academics or we're talking about finances. We want to be transparent. And the reason why we want to be transparent is because we are welcoming the community to be a part of what we're doing for the children here in this community. So moving forward, how are they able to, we know that they can also reach out to, can they also participate in any of the meetings that we have prior to the board meetings?
Oh, absolutely. There are open finance committee meetings. The board meeting is open. Online, there are a lot of resources and documents for them to look at financially. We try and post right after board meetings with all the financial data from the prior month. And we report on so many different financial aspects, yearly, quarterly, and most of this is public record. So we encourage, come to the finance committee meetings, come to the board meetings, call the office, send an email. We want to be a part of the community because the community is a part of us.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day, but I'm really curious about what you do after you leave the office, because there's no way that you know so much about politics and all these other things without that being a part of that. What do you do and what do you read that makes that, because it comes off so quickly from you when we're talking about just kind of what's happening in politics, what's happening in Columbus. What do you do?
Yeah, great question. Well, I'm kind of a nerd in this sense, so I do read a lot of publications down in Columbus Dispatch, the Hannah News Report that comes to me nightly. But, when I worked for Congress, I had a lot of friends and networks down there that I still just, text, call, that are actually in the profession like myself. So we're all in this kind of together. and I do read some legislation time to time.
Yes.
I know,
Time to time.
time to time. But you know, my wife is an attorney who worked in the state house as well, so she's always well versed in this. And you know, that's a dinner conversation. It's boring at the Oko household, but that's what it is.
So dinner conversations about politics and
Politics, property taxes, and crisis communication.
okay, very interesting. Very interesting, man. But thank you for sharing with me today. And we're low on time, so
That's
I know
right.
that you're extremely busy.
And you are.
And just a little bit. But thank you for sitting with me. The community can rest assured knowing that taxpayer dollars are being properly allocated throughout the district with the hard work and diligence of Mr. Phil Oko. So thank you for being here today, for chatting with me and sharing with me about the financial state of the district and all that you're doing with transparency and accountability. So until next time, thank you for watching and thank you for being with me today.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. I appreciate it.
Thank you now. All righty.